Hello, it is another day. I'm bringing you food for your thoughts. Remember, thoughts are energy, and emotion is energy in motion. So, for you to feel good about yourself, about the world, there is a fascinating world behind every thought. What seems so ordinary can have a transformative power over your life. Understand how and why people do things, what influences their behavior. Using your thoughts correctly will deepens your appreciations of people and life in general. Consider the complex interplay of forces in your conversation, in your behavior. You need to know what needs to be done, what needs to be said in every situation. Remember, the total energy in this universe is constant. And because it is constant, when one object gains energy, it must have come from somewhere. The same applies with money. When you get money, it means it has come from somewhere. So you can impact people and situations in the way you will never expect by your thoughts. Your thoughts drives your actions. And here today, I'm giving you some food for your thoughts. In this video, I'll ask you some questions. How would you describe the best hug for a man you are in love with? That's the first part. The second part, what is something your boyfriend or your spouse does that makes you feel all warm? Listen to this story as a food for your thought. The other day, my husband and I walked into the supermarket. My husband is 61 and I am 57. There in the supermarket, in the produce section, I saw a friend who I hadn't run into for years. We know each other in a professional capacity more than a personal one, but we get on very well, even though we have never socialized outside our working environment. So I see her standing there and I am so happy and I exclaim, is that dinner Piscot? With a huge smile, she turns around and it takes just a minute for her to register my face and then she comes in. I thought we were going to do a friendly hug and a little squeal of delight, but no. She grabs my shoulder and pulls me into a hug, fully pulls me in and hugs me with a huge smile and a huge embrace, and then pulls away laughing and smiling. Honestly, I've never been hugged like this in my life. I've never been surrounded by such great joy and happiness to be seen. It was a complete, sincere, and filled with joy. We stood there for a minute to catch up, introducing her to my husband, excited small talk, and left with plans to meet for lunch. Honestly, I can't stop thinking about that hug. No one has ever done this for me, not my parents, siblings, husband, or a friend. Now, a question to you, and I'll give you some answers from my research. How would you describe the best hug for a man you are in love with? One person said, like he wanted to engulf me all in one bite. He didn't speak, but he held me so tightly that I somehow knew both his body and soul wanted me. A second person had this to say: a very tight and long hug is the best. I typically like bigger men, so I am buried in their chest and arms. A third person said this: a friend of mine gives me the best hugs I ever got from a man. He is very tall, so he completely envelops me. My face My face presses against his chest. It feels very safe. He hugs hard and long. I really have a soft spot for those hugs that makes me feel safe. Another question to you. What is something your boyfriend or your husband or your spouse or your wife does that make you feel all warm? One person had this to say: for me, whenever my boyfriend kisses my nose. Another person had this to say: I get the warm fuzzies when I'm meeting with my boyfriend somewhere, and his face lights up when we looks eyes across the room. His eye locks my eyes. I love that. A third person had this to say: when I would walk in the door after a long day at work, he would immediately scoop me up, carry me to the bedroom, cuddle me, and ask how my day was. I really love that. Another one had this to say to the question: when he runs his hands through my hair, looks me right in the eye, and compliment me, makes me go nut. It makes me feel wanted and special. Another lady had this to say: when he kisses my hand out of the blue, when he stops what he is doing to caress my face and ruffle my hair for a bit, and when he tells me I am cute even when I feel like I look awful. Another young lady had this to respond: he gets up first every morning and leave between 7:30 and 8 a.m. I don't get up until 7:30, but he'll hear my alarm and run to bed, pin me down for more snuggles and cuddles, me for another 10 minutes before he leaves for work. Occasionally, he has fallen back to sleep and I will have to wake him up. Another beautiful lady had this to say. He tries to wait for me and immediately puts down whatever it is he has been doing to say to me, "Welcome home, darling," accompanied by a long hug. When he, out of nowhere, tells me how beautiful I am and how much he loves me. Another lady had this to say. When he kisses my forehead and bites my nose. Also, when I am sad, he smothers my face with kisses and it makes me feel really loved. Another old lady had this to say. I love it when he winks at me from across the room when we are in a group setting. He still opens my door. He won't unlock the doors because he knows I will open it and hop in. He gives me a ton of tiny forehead kisses and I just melt. Another young lady had this to say. When he hugs me from behind, smothers me in kisses, kisses my forehead and cheeks, and the adorable look he gives me, I melt. Well, today this has been food for your thoughts. Please, if you're watching this video for the first time, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share with your friends. Subscribe, and may God bless you. Bye.